Now before we even start barbell squatting, here's what I want you to make sure of. I want you to make sure of that you can squat to parallel, and here's what that looks like. A lot of people think that when they squat to parallel, it's just that the thighs need to be parallel to the floor, and that's not really the case. What you really want to see is the hip crease here in line with the knee. So this is more parallel. So it looks a little bit deeper than you would just say thighs parallel to the floor. Now, one thing you want to make sure of when you're squatting, particularly with the barbell, you want to make sure that when you come down to squat, that your back is nice and straight and not starting to round underneath here at the lumbar. So if you feel like you're getting this little tuck here, the pelvis is tilting under, that's no good. That could lead to injury. So just make sure that come straight down and stop before that happens if that's problematic for you. With your squat, you want to make sure that you can use a full range of motion. If you can go past parallel and that feels good for your body and that you're not rounding in the lumbar, then absolutely continue to go for that range of motion. Now, if you're so heavy on your back or in the front squat that you can't reach that range of motion, it may be too heavy for you. So never sacrifice the load on the bar for your range of motion. So as I am set up and I'm going to approach the bar, I'm going to make sure that I'm in the center of the bar, and I'm going to put my hands on both sides of the bar centered, and I like to start with my pointer finger where my knurling starts on the bar, so that rough part, and make sure you're on the same sides centered with both hands. Then I'm going to come under my bar, pop up after I've found my foot stance. That looks good for me. Couple steps back. Make sure you're not walking several steps back. That wastes a lot of energy. So make sure you're not doing that. Toes can point out, that's fine, whatever's comfortable for you. I'm going to gaze just a little above eye level and keep my gaze there as I squat and come up. Take a big belly breath here. Squat, pop up. And walk right into to lower the bar at the same time on both sides. Another quick tip, when you're squatting, make sure that the hips don't pop up first, okay? Never want to see that. Make sure you're pushing through the heels, come up, straight up. Again, make sure that the hips don't try to push off first, okay? So for a lot of people, the squat is very difficult as far as mobility and or other issues. So one thing I like to do to help clean up the squat a lot of times is to grab one of these 5 or 10 pound plates, and you're gonna place these where your heels will be. So you're gonna elevate your heels with these, and for a lot of people that just really cleans up their squat, helps them to get down further, helps their back to stay more upright, and all kinds of good stuff. So this may be an option for you if we're back squatting and you can do it, it's just your mobility that's a little tricky. So you can give it a try. Come under the bar, find your foot stance, pop up, find your heels there. Now I'm elevated a little bit. You can also use a yoga wedge here, so I've seen that work really well. So eyes are gazed just above eye level, big belly breath, and squat down and pop up. Walk into the bar and then lower. So I hope this has been a good tutorial for you. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'm going to make another video on the front squat, because if the back squat still after all this does not feel good for you, maybe it's time to do a front squat instead. I'll show you that as well.